Yo, what's going on everyone? Welcome back. How you doing? Hope you're all good. Today I'm going to run through a very quick video to show you how to actually make these Pokemon cards that can be done on your laser cutters and laser engravers. I've seen loads of them all over like Facebook and Reddit and stuff. Everybody's just selling everybody else's files. They're all the exact same files and people are just charging ridiculous amounts per card. I thought we'll just show you how to actually make them yourself. It is honestly so simple. The longest bit really will be just doing the actual Pokemon itself. Everything else, it'll just be the same template you're just going to use over and over again because it's just going to be the shape of the card. You'll have some text which you can obviously double click and change. And yeah, that's about it really. Let's get into it and we'll show you. Right, so to do these very simple designs, everything I'm going to be doing is with completely free software. So I'm going to be using Inkscape to actually make the vectors themselves. So this is completely free to download off the website. Again, a link will be in the description if you haven't got it already. And I'm going to be using a website called photop.com. Now what this is, it's an online-based version of Photoshop pretty much. It's exactly the same as Photoshop. And yeah, I'm just going to be using it basically just to convert images to black and white. And I'll also be using pkmncards.com to get all my Pokemon card images. So I'm just going to find one for Charizard. I use this website because the images are very high res and you can just copy them straight out. I can paste them into here and we've got an image of our Pokemon card there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go image, adjustments and black and white. Okay. So I can hold control and click this layer one over here. That'll select the actual layer and then I'm going to press Control and C. And then I'm going to go into Inkscape and I can just paste it. Alternatively, you can just go File and Save As. Okay, what we need to do now is create an outline for this because it's just a PNG basically image. You can't just pop a stroke on it. It doesn't work. So all we need to do is just get the rectangle tool and I'm just going to draw a square roughly the same shape and we can pop him in place. We'll turn snapping on and it'll help and snap that to the ends. Zoom in and is it the same all the way around? We want the rounded edges and it looks the same. If you found the edges aren't rounded enough, this RX number up here so you can change it. So I'm going to go 7, 7. There we go, I'm happy with that. So with that then you can just save this file out. And then in your laser cutter, well, with my laser cutter, it recognizes a red outline as a cut. So I'd run the engraving first, go back, and then run the cut. Another way of doing it is the way I like to do it. And it'll be 2 layers in thickness, but it'll actually be 3 things you need to cut out. So here first, you can see I've got a cut out the shape of the card. And then on that, there's the background image. It's in black and gray. It's just a PNG. Again, I'll be engraving that. So you'll run first of all the engrave of that. And then you'll run the cutout, and then obviously that'll be the actual back. So you'll have that part, and then the shape of the card itself. That'll be the back part of the card. And then what I like to do again for the top layer is run an engrave. So all that will engrave, so it's all the text and everything. The grey, it'll engrave a little bit lighter. Then obviously the black on there will engrave darker. So like you see on here, you could put a gradient on it, but I find just doing it in grey, it works absolutely fine. And then obviously all the text will just be engraved on top. And then that'll be an opening there. So that part, we need to put a cut on the inside of that. And you'll see if we take the fill off. So there's a cut on the inside of that. So that part will be open there. So then you'll lay that part on top of this card. So that's your second layer with all the engraving. And then what I like to do is get a PNG of the Pokemon itself. Here we got Pikachu. So I'll run an engrave on that. And as you can see, there's an outline. And that'll be a cut over the top. And then that will sit on there. And this part. So you'll glue that in place there. And then that'll be your top layer on that. So basically your files will be like that. Once they're all cut out and you glued them all together, you'll have one complete card. Hope it doesn't sound too complicated. It isn't. It's very easy. So we're going to get into the actual design of it all now. So yeah, if you're enjoying everything so far, guys, definitely give it a quick thumbs up. So now I'm going to dive into it now and actually show you exactly what we need to do. So first of all, we need to decide what cards we will be doing. So let's get rid of this one. And we'll go Squirtle. We haven't got a Squirtle one on there yet. And like, I didn't realize there were so many Pokemon cards. There are tons of them. That one's drawing my eye. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to copy the image back into Inkscape. And I'm just going to, you can right click and paste, or I just press Control and V. And that'll bring your image in. So the very first thing we need to do is draw a box around. And that's going to have a stroke on it of red. And we're going to turn the thickness up. So you'll see the edges are just sharp. We just need to click on that. And we'll change this to 7. Yeah, 7 matches that perfectly. Let's move him to one side. That is the first part done. Right, so next we need to do the outline of the actual image. Usually it's just a simple square, but for this, it's got this little part at the bottom. So I'm just going to use the pen tool, go to the very top corner, all the way down, and we'll just follow the outline of this. Perfect. Change this to red, and we'll make it a little bit thicker. Happy with that. Now I'm just going to press Control and D. That's going to duplicate this. One line there. Control and D on the keyboard, and that creates another one. And I'm just going to resize it. Holding Shift, it'll resize it on all 4 corners. If you don't hold Shift, you'll only do 1 corner. So I want to bring it about there for now, and then bring these out. Zoom in, and then we'll make our little tweaks we need to. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'll select the outer one, and I'll just fill that with black. And then with the inside, I'll click that, hold Shift, and click those. We got those 2 selected. I'm just going to go Path and Difference. And there we go. We've just got that outer box selected. I'll move this over there. We can actually take the stroke off. We don't need that on there anymore. Next, what will we do? We'll do this basic sign up here. It's exactly the same of what we just done. Again, you can use this square and you can manipulate that. But again, the pen tool, very simple. A couple of clicks. So we can fill that with, probably do a gradient on that, but I'll fill it with a light grey. In Inkscape with the fill tool, you can actually use this eyedropper there and select the colour you want to fill it. Take the stroke off. And if you want to put a gradient on it, you can do so with these. But we're just going to have it a solid color. We'll keep it grey because when you run the engrave on your laser engraver, obviously it'll engrave very light color there, so you'll see the shape of it. Obviously it'll have black text, which will go right over the top of it. So that can go over there too. Just going to pop him there. And next tool, we can actually duplicate these now. So Control and D, duplicate them, and then we can just resize these. So there, and then we'll go with the node selection, and then we can just move these over. We'll do the same on this side. Select that, Control and D, and we just zoom in and then do the little tweaks again that we need to. We'll do these shapes now. Again, we'll get the ellipse tool. I'm just going to draw a perfect circle. If you don't know if it's over the top or not, you see this over here, where you can change the opacity, or you can go over here and change that as well, and that changes the opacity. So I can see I can bring that in a little. And I will change this color to that darker gray. Again, you can go with a gradient if you wanted to, but I'm happy with it like that. Now we're going to make the star. Start very simple in Inkscape. You can use the pen tool, but you've got an option here where you can create a star. You want 6 points, and let's just draw that out into the edit path by nodes. Now, if we click on that, object the path first, so object the path. And then we can select these nodes on the inside. Now with this, you can move these out, move them in, and we can just get it making it a little bit better like that. And with this button here, it'll round them off. Bring them out again. There we go. Change that to black, and then we can center that in there. So I can move that directly over the top of that. We know there's another one here with them both selected, Control and D, and then we'll Control and D again. And we'll come to here. We can delete that. Change this to that color blue. and then draw the water droplet. You can actually search these images on Google and just highlight them, copy and paste them in if you want. But it's easy enough just to draw them in Inkscape. So with the pen tool, I'm just going to roughly draw that in. Let me just change the color of the stroke a moment. And with the Edit Paths by Nodes tool again, we can just click and drag all the lines and get this looking much better. I'll put a link in the top corner there how to use the pen tool properly in Inkscape, because I've got one on my channel, and it'll basically, it's a short video and it shows you how to become a pro at using the pen tool in Inkscape. It's a great video, easy to follow, so I do recommend checking that out. Okay, we'll take the stroke off and we'll fill that with black. And we know there was a little water droplet underneath there as well, so I'll just trace that quickly. Fill that with a light blue. So with that selected, holding shift, and with that one selected, we'll go path and difference. And I'll just draw that out. I'm happy with that. Let's move this back over the top. And we do have another one at the very top corner. So with these two bits selected, we'll Control D. And we can just drag it all the way to the top. Make it bigger. Okay, that's looking good. Next, now all we need to do is just the text, and then we'll do the Pokemon itself. So the text is nice and simple. So with the text tool, I'm just going to type in, it looks like I already had, I spelt it wrong. I already had caps lock on. Let's turn that off. Squirtle. Right, so what did I say? Squirtle. And we'll go bold, or we go heavy. No, bold looks good. Move into place, we'll zoom in, and then we can just use the arrows to move this across. I've spelled the name wrong again, haven't I? Squirtle, here we go. Yeah, Jill Sands, it looks like it's the same font for this as well. Control D, I'll duplicate Squircle. And we'll put the number 70 in there. And then we can lay that directly over the top. Perfect. I'll get the Squirtle again. Duplicate it. And now we can do his moves. Tackle. Now it just comes, this is probably the easiest part. It's a little bit time consuming, but it is very simple. It's just basically drawing around the actual Pokemon itself. And then we just need to cut it out. We just need to use the Photopea website now to actually cut this out and have this as a single item. And then we'll also have a look at just having the background on a separate layer. With these, you can just have the PNG of this and just engrave that, and then we'll cut the Pokemon out on a separate layer and stick it on top, because you're not going to see the background where the Pokemon is actually going to get cut out and stuck on top. But I'll show you a really cool way where you can actually remove the Pokemon and have the background on its own layer all in one. So there's a website called theinpaint.com. We upload an image, so Squirtle, so it'll give you this little brush here. All you need to do is just click and hold and draw. It doesn't have to be neat, around the object that we want to erase. And we'll fill it all in, and then just click erase, and it should just content aware fill it with what it thinks the background should look like. And that's not bad at all. I can remove that. I should paint that in with a bit of the sky. It looks pretty good. Like I said, where the Pokemon's going to go is going to cover anything that really doesn't look right anyway. You can download the image. It'll be a low-res file, or you can purchase it. Or I just always like to use this snipping tool that Windows comes with. We'll go new, and we'll go top corner, click, hold and drag, paste that in there. Perfect. And then I'm just going to go image, adjustments, black and white. Okay. Hold control, click the little thumbnail over here. and that'll select the whole outline of the image. Control and C, over to Photoshop, Control and V, and we'll put that in place there. So we can just run that as an engrave. So PNG image, we'll just run it as an engrave, so it'll be nice and easy. Now we want to do the actual Pokemon itself. So again, you can just use the whole image and just engrave that as one. But like I said, I do like to have it on a completely separate layer. So with Photopea open again, obviously the Pokemon card, as I showed earlier, I just copy and paste it in. You can try and use the magic wand selection and select certain bits of it, but as you can probably tell, it's not always the best. So I'm just going to go in here and we'll go with the lasso tool. Just going to roughly sort everything out there with that selected. Control C, Control and V, and hide everything else. And then we can use the eraser tool, which is that one. We can take a little bit more off, taking your time not to cut too much off. Or alternatively, you can use the pen tool here, and then you just click, 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 just keep clicking until you cover the whole object. Again, I'm not being too neat here. I'm going to go over it at the end and refine everything else. You might find here you don't know what's going on. Just guesstimate it, and we can just go in and fix it after. Right, that's okay. What I'm just going to do, I'm going to lower this opacity down so I can see the Pokemon through it. And over here, again with the pen tool, click or hold, and then we can go with the curvature tool. You go path selection here, but with the curvature tool and that's selected, we can just go in. So you've got the straight line here. Obviously, every point there is where we've made a point. So in the middle, I can just click and hold, and then just drag that line out and just tidy all this up. Zoom in if needs be. But again, this is something you just need to take your time with. It's not hard to do. It's just time consuming. So I'll probably speed this up in the video. Okay, there we go. Happy with that. We've got everything selected there, so you can see we've got a pretty good outline of the Pokemon there. Turn the opacity all the way up. We can right click this and we can rasterize. And there we go. And that basically converts the path to an image then. So I'll hold Control, click that, and you see it makes a selection. Control and C for copy. Over to Inkscape, Control and V. So what I can do with that then, the black image, and just go path, trace bitmap, and we'll go brightness cut off at 0.45. Again, I believe is the default. Apply, and we can delete that. And with this one, just want to use this for an outline. See, so it's going to take the fill off, and then add a stroke in red. And that is perfect. Back over to Photopea. We need to cut this image out of that. So with the outline layer selected, hold Control, click the thumbnail, then we'll hide that layer. Click on the layer below it with the actual Pokemon on. Then Control and C again, and then Control V, and you'll see if we hide the layer, we've got the cutout of the Pokemon. I'll go into that now and go Image, Adjustments, Black and White. Hold Control, click the little thumbnail over here to the right, and that'll select the outline. Control and C, back into Inkscape, and Control and V. And I believe that is everything. Let's move the background out of the way. What I will do is add a thin black line there. So this is just checking over everything to make sure you're happy with everything there. This box inside here, what we can do, we can put a small grey gradient in there. So we've got that selected, and that's a hold shift and have them two selected and go path union. That'll create one object. And then if I zoom out to show you this, because this can get a little bit complicated, this bit. It's simple, you just need to know what you're doing. So with this object now we've selected, which is that shape over there, I'm going to Control D, which will duplicate it, move it all the way over, and we're going to go path, break apart. We'll fill it all in one object, and I'll just click and drag that bit out. We don't want that. Don't want that. All I wanted was this bit that goes in here. And I'm going to change this to grey. And then we're going to press page down on the keyboard. That'll take it down a couple of levels. Again, you can put a gradient on it. If I have the right thing selected, there we go. Put a gradient if you want to. I'm just going to leave that as a light grey. So again, when it engraves with the laser engraver, it will engrave it just very faintly. And obviously when it goes over the black, it'll look a lot better. So that is the basics of our card. Now it's a case of sorting out the layers how you want it to go. So this will be our bottom layer. So Control D, I'll move that over there. That's the shape of the card. We also want this to be on the bottom layer. So again, as I said at the beginning, with this layer, you'll run the engrave, the background, and then at the same time, you'll run the cut. So that piece is cut out. That'll be one solid piece of wood with that image on. Next, we want to select this. This is going to be a separate cut its own. So we've got the PNG, which will run on engrave, and then we've got the outline, which we'll cut out afterwards. And then that'll be a separate piece, which we can glue in place there. Then with this bit here, these need to be changed to grey. And we'll go with that grey, and we'll do the same with that one. And obviously that'll be these bits here. With the white ones, you can make them a little bit lighter, maybe the same colour as that. Just so there's a difference in darkness when you engrave it. And same with the green. We'll change that to the same as the blue. We can go a little bit darker maybe. I'm going to make these bits the same colour as that up there. If you put the same colour as that, it's going to be the exact same colour as this. So we'll go with that colour there. So there we go. That'll be the top layer then. So again, you'll run everything that's like black and grey, you'll run as an engrave. And on the outside where we've got red, again with my laser, you put a red outline for a cut. That'll be the cut. Now with this box around here, that'll just be engraved. You can do that as a cut if you wanted to and, glue that on place again, but that would be higher up. That'll be like a third level to everything as well. But what you can also do at the same time is the yellow box there. So if we duplicate this and move that over the card, we can duplicate that and bring that just to the inside of that. And then what that will do then, you can also cut that shape out and then have that as like a third layer, which then goes on top of this layer. So then again, it'll make it a bit more 3D. And then you can obviously cut this out and have that as like a separate layer as well. So it brings it all a bit more three-dimensional for yourself. But I like to try and keep them for about 2 layers with just these two, just because it saves on material and it doesn't get too thick then. Because if you're going with 3 layers of 3mm, it's going to be 9mm. Any glue as well might add a little bit of thickness. And if you're looking at a 10mm thick Pokemon card at the size of a Pokemon card, it may not look the best, but completely up to you. Experiment with it, see how you want to go. Lastly, if you do want to do the background, so let's go Pokemon card back. And you can just find an image on Google, copy the image, and we'll make a new, actually we can just put it in there, image, adjustments, black and white. And obviously it's just a case of copying and pasting that over into Inkscape. And then all you need to do with that is when you can do it one of 2 ways. Obviously you can cut the card out. Once it's cut out, you can flip it over and realign it then so this card sits directly on top. So then you can engrave the back of it. If you're really good at lining everything up, you can run all the engraving and everything first, flip it over, run the engraving on the back, and then cut out after. Again, whatever works best for you. Again, experiment with it if you've never tried that before. Don't really have to do the back either if you don't want it. Completely up to you. Dealer's choice. So there you go, guys. That's the process I use to make these cards. It's the same process I use to make pretty much anything, to be honest with you. I'll just use a mixture of Photoshop and Inkscape. So there we go. I hope this has been some help for anybody out there interested in making their own cards. And I do hope it shows you how easy it is. So if you do want to make your own, you just go ahead, go online, find a card and make as many as you want. So yeah, there we go, guys. Do hope you enjoyed the video. If you have and you've learned something new, like I said, give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. And if you're new, definitely subscribe. I've got some fantastic other tutorials for designs and stuff like that. I've also got some great videos as well of things I've made with my laser engraver and some with the 3D printer and vinyl cutter as well. So I'll end here, guys. I do hope we see you in the next video. I hope you all have a good one. Ta-ra.